I'm not going to do much of an intro here aside from welcoming Burke and Javier up to talk about dev tooling and kind of the evolution of what we've been building that's led to River. Guys.
All right.
Oh, hello. Okay, let's go.
Go ahead. This is not our slide deck, however.
How do we get our slide deck on the screen?
So when we originally pitched this talk, whoops, let's go back. All right. We thought we were going to generically talk about developer tools at Shopify in 2026 because we weren't sure if we could talk about River publicly yet, but now we can. So we're going to talk about River.
So the reason we can talk about River is because Toby 2 weeks ago, published an essay on X about the philosophy behind River. And then after that, it was like green light for us to start talking about what we did and how we did it. This is a work that happened in the last 3 months, more or less. We started River on St. Valentine's weekend. It was the right moment for River.
So as you can perhaps imagine, this is a very strange time in building developer tools. I have been at Shopify for, I think, 14 years now and been working on developer tools for most of that time. And the new thing to be doing for developer tools is very different from what it was. We have this, Javier just talked about Toby's essay. But I want to rewind first prior to River to talk about some decisions that kind of led to River. We'll talk, I'm sure most of you haven't seen this essay, but we will talk more about what River is. But first I want to talk about some decisions we made in spring of 2024. We were all, the entire company was gathered around a big conference center in Toronto talking about the future of engineering. And we decided that day that we were going to go all in on a monorepo for Shopify, which is a huge engineering challenge. This was a big bet. We also decided that same day we were going to build our development environments and a few other things with Nix. This entailed a lot of work, and it's been happening for the 2 years since then. But the reason we did this was actually, it was actually an early bet on this idea that at some point in the medium-term future, from the perspective of spring 2024, pretty much all of our code was going to be written by, we didn't have the word agents at the time, but we gestured at LLMs. And this felt like something that wasn't as obvious at the time as it is today, but Toby was very sure, and we all agreed with him after thinking about it for a moment, so we went and started building that.
When was Devin released?
It was around that time, yeah, but we used it and
so we used it for like 3 days, and we were like, this is shit, but this is the future at the same time.
Yeah. I gather it's improved a lot since then. So the consequences of this decision were manifold. The idea of moving to a monorepo sounds nice, and then you confront all of the things that you have to do to make that real. I think moving to a monorepo is coextensive with basically a commitment to rebuild all of your own tooling. So we had to scale CI dramatically. Merge queues suddenly became a big problem. Build, caching, test infra, lots of little assumptions. There was a lot involved in dealing with this decision we made. But even relatively soon, we got a few things out of this. We got, you can just open Claude Code or Codex or Pi or whatever at the root of the monorepo and start to interact with all of Shopify's universe of code, all in one go. This started to feel powerful for the people that figured out to do this. We can have skills that span the whole universe of our code, ask the entire monorepo a question. Some of these things really started to stitch together in an interesting way.
So, as I said, February 13, we released River. We had worked on it for 3 weeks or so before that. Right now, 1 out of 8 PRs in world in our monorepo is co-authored by River. Almost 6,000 people have used River so far across 4.4K channels in the last 30 days. River only works on Slack. Let's talk about River now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we can, yeah, go ahead.
No, like, go ahead.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
So you can tell we prepared great for this. So there's a thing that you get confronted with when you start trying to run agents more in your code base. You realize all these little things that it's just not really getting about your code base. There's all these little pieces of knowledge and all these systems that you kind of realize upon reflection that you've been jumping through these hoops or holding all this context in your head that's never written down anywhere. And you try to onboard people into this project and you're like, oh, wait, hang on. I actually have to explain these 12 things to you before you can interact productively with this. There's a thing that I think is true that like all of these steps everybody is going through right now to make their code bases more agent friendly, it's the same thing as making them more human friendly. We just, for whatever combination of reasons, haven't really until this point prioritized making these things self-documenting, self-describing in the way that we're now discovering is not just important but critical. This is going to be true everywhere, right? Like, the development environment isn't reproducible, means agents can't reproduce it. Repo is fragmented, agents can't figure out the way the pieces relate to each other.
And then here comes the thing, local agents have a ceiling. When you're working alone, you are limited by your ability to handle this agent. And the truth is, and this is something that people try to avoid saying, none of us know how to use these things. I was reading the Pope encyclical yesterday, as we should all these days, and he was saying something interesting. He was saying that the way we approach these systems is as if they were plants that are growing, as if they were living systems, because in reality there is very limited control about what we don't know what they are. And so when you work locally, when you work on your own, you are limited by your imagination. So there is something that you can gain out of just like collaboratively engaging with these things. And so that's what happened here. Go to the next one.
Yeah. So when every interaction with an agent happens in a private window, the only person that learns anything from that is the person sitting in front of that agent at the moment. This was in Toby's essay that he published, I don't know what it was, 2 weeks ago now. And this is super true. Like, you see I'm sure loads of you see this in your companies, is everybody sitting in front of Cloud Code or Codex or whatever on their own local machine. You'll often see duplicate learnings that everybody has to go through, and they figure it out in their own context, but you're sort of wastefully not sharing that learning.
So River enters the game. River lives on Slack. It's a presence that is in any public channel on Slack. It reads code, it runs tests, it opens PRs, queries data warehouse, etc., etc. It spins boxes with everything in it very, very quickly. It operates across the whole repository. It does it really, really, really fast. And is very efficient at using tokens, etc., etc., etc. But the most important thing is that it effectively creates the learning environment that we need to learn how to master these things.
So to just drive that home, you can only use River in public channels. And once a thread is started with River, anyone can contribute to that thread. So a thing that kind of surprised us is how much, we thought it would be valuable that we would have this kind of osmosis learning thing of seeing someone interact with River and everybody learning from how we use the agents and seeing, okay, well, this person knew these things about this system and I'll internalize them. The thing we didn't anticipate is how much value people would get out of like directly multiplayer experiences, of like actually kind of going back and forth and maybe even only tagging River into a conversation like 30 messages into the thread, right? You can have this debate and then say, at River, what do you think? And River might decide that she's going to like agree with one of you with some caveats for the other one and offer to open a draft pull request to just implement the thing you were talking about. It's kind of incredible.
And then, like, here comes something important, because River works in the open, and only in public channels, we can afford to do this thing of recording every session of River in a place that River can access. So River has self-awareness in that sense. And it can review previous conversations, and can learn from whatever has happened before. We have jobs that go over previous sessions and try to improve River so that River is better at doing things that may have failed doing before. And people on their own are also learning from all these things. So everybody is contributing to River, and River is making everybody stronger at the same time. That's kind of the game. Have you ever seen the series The Pit? The Pit is like the most beautiful example of a learning environment that is active. And I think that's what River is allowing us to do, is forcing everybody in the open to play the game. There is a channel where you can see Toby working using River, and people can jump into that channel and collaborate with Toby on solving things that Toby's worried about. And everybody's doing that more and more, and we are learning from each other, and there are some people who are very, very good at this. There are some people who are not as good, but they are learning. Some people have very, very specific expertise, and they all can collaborate into making both River better, world better, and the whole organization better.
So let's go to a live demo.
What do we want to show?
I'm actually gonna first show you this little video that our teammate Surma put together.
This video was actually generated by River. Fun fact. And most of these messages are actual messages to River.
This one isn't.
This one isn't. Our teammate Surma made this video with River. What were we going to say? Well, I think I want to add something here that maybe is relevant, which is that I think in the previous session, we talked about how it's important for us to use our tools. The River team has been using River very actively to build River itself. Over the last 3 months, we have had, Bert, can you try to show that thing?
Yeah.
So this is something that I asked River to create like 10 minutes ago. We have created 922 pull requests with River, out of which 441 have been merged. There are 125 open.
And this is specifically pull requests authored by River on River.
On River. On River and the infrastructure underneath River. One of our teammates, Christian, has created with River, and I think merged like 200 of these PRs.
Yeah, 165.
165. So we are really committed to using River to build River and to build Shopify.
Javier, River hasn't figured out the by the week chart yet.
Yes, River is stupid as well.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, so I'll show you just like, I did a smaller demo last night, and I'll recap the little thread I showed there. So this is like an actual example of a real River session. So I just asked River to build a little architecture diagram for River, including the new infrastructure layer that we're going to talk about in a minute. post it somewhere on Quick. Quick is just a little, like, I don't know, internal hosting platform thing we have. I think we're talking more about that publicly next week. It's pretty, actually quite cool. But anyway, River surveyed the monorepo because every River session runs with a just transparently full clone of our ridiculously large monorepo, and threw up an architecture diagram. But because we're like halfway through this transition from the initial fairly crappy architecture we built for River to like a much more intentional one, it kind of keyed on the old one. And so Javier and I redirected in a multiplayer way towards the new one. And River said, oh, okay, sure, fair correction, here's the new one. And I can pop that open. This, I don't expect you to internalize too much right now. That's a whole lot of boxes. But all this to say...
But something that maybe is nice to highlight about that particular arch diagrams quick is that arch diagrams is like a site that Toby created with a generic agent skill that generates this diagram for any repository, and then we incorporated it into River in a matter of like a few hours after it was created, so that anybody could create these diagrams very quickly using River and not having to open Claude for anything.
Yeah, so we're going to not click that All Diagrams button because that would be ridiculously proprietary, but we can show you this one.
Because we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, that's probably it for the demo right now, right? Maybe back to the presentation? Yeah.
Let's do it.
What's next? Yeah, so we sort of lightly showed this in that thread I just showed you, but yeah, this multiplayer thing, super powerful pattern. So there's like, if we zoom out for a second, there's this way that I think is really important to think about our monorepo, which is that River is a part of our monorepo. All of the context we provide River is a part of our monorepo. All of the intelligence we put into world, our monorepo, is part of this system. And we use that system to transform itself more and more autonomously, right, as time goes by. So I think it's really important. We're approaching this quite intentionally, and I think this is going to be kind of true for a lot of these sorts of systems in the future. Thinking of our monorepo as this self-transforming system that has its own intelligence layer built in. And River we kind of think of as the little persona that we plaster on the front of it, the animating spark of that intelligence.
One of the ways in which this has manifested very explicitly from the beginning is that people come to us and they are like, how did you guys manage to nail so well the voice of Shopify with River? What was the magic here? And then I showed them the system prompt that I wrote like 2 weeks in, and it's like the most stupid system prompt you can imagine. It doesn't sound like something that could capture the voice of Shopify quite well. It's kind of quirky. It's not really something trying to do that. But the thing is that River not only has access to that system prompt, it has access in context to the whole Shopify. It can see all the Slack conversations. It can see all the code, all the comments, all the PRs, all the conversations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When you give a robot like this access to that level of knowledge, even if it's unstructured, the robot is going to start speaking your language. And it's not only that, it's the robot has awareness of the organization. The robot has awareness. I'm being like a little bit, awareness doesn't make sense for these robots, but like, you know what I mean.
I think an important mental model here is like, in one way of conceptualizing it, which I will relentlessly advocate to anyone who will listen, world, our monorepo, is Shopify, and River is world. Therefore, River is Shopify to a significant extent.
River is like a verbal manifestation of Shopify.
So almost immediately, once we launched River, people saw that and they said, wow, I have this great use case. I want to do something super similar, but I haven't been able to build the infrastructure for it, and yours seems like it might work. So why can't I use the River infrastructure for pull request review, for research agents, migration agents, compliance scans, performance investigations? A lot of those things are possible in River, but as soon as you want more automation. So we didn't really have a satisfactory answer, but Toby really felt like we should. So we built a platform, or we tried to build a platform. I was kind of struggling with this for a few weeks and just like trying some iterations, and nothing really felt like it was clean enough. Everything felt like it wasn't quite working. But then we stumbled across this one insight from Anthropic actually published a blog post, just like immaculately well-timed for us, called Scaling Managed Agents. And they had this one insight that just unlocked everything for us, which was decouple the brain from the hands. So what this meant was basically, well, okay, yeah, what this meant was basically, you should separate the place where the session runs, where you run your harness, in our case it's Pi, but whatever it is, from the place where your code, your artifacts live, and link them over a network boundary with like a tool called proxy. So now we're able to decouple, we call them sandboxes, where the monorepo clone lives, and cells was the noun that Claude invented and I never chose to rename, for where the runtime harness lives. Also, fun fact, just apropos of absolutely nothing, River wrote the slides for this, and you can tell because it's using Claude's favorite font. So the platform that we built is called Aquifer. This is the thing that's underneath River that makes River work beyond its initial incarnation.
And by the way, the fact that we named this thing River has created a proliferation of new water-related words in Shopify for every single type of things. And we are abusing this thing in all the possible ways.
River, by the way, is actually the metaphorical meaning is I think pretty significant. The connection is rivers shape the world. So world being our monorepo, River is the thing that continuously resculpts its surface. Aquifer is the source of all rivers. Or not all, but yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, it's a metaphor, okay? So the session is the thing that has to survive. When you run, in particular, you start running agents in Slack, you have this cluster of services powering it. You're not just looking at a Pi or a Claude or a Codex process in your local machine. You want to be able to restart that service and not have River suddenly stop responding to you. That's a bad experience. We had that for a long time. I was happy when it stopped happening. So the significant thing here was pulling the session transcript even further out of the system to be database tracked so that you can just kill one of these Pi sessions and have it immediately reconstitute its transcript from the database.
I read that, I read somewhere, I think in Reddit or like in X, that in San Francisco, people are working with their are walking around with the computers like this because they have live sessions here. So we build this thing so that we can do this.
Big quality of life improvement. Mm-hmm. Probably good for laptop longevity too. So, yeah, this just to reinforce that design split. The session is this almost abstract thing. It's not really modeled by a process on the machine anywhere. It lives in, literally, it's a Postgres database. The agent loop it can be a fairly ephemeral process that loads in the transcript to date and starts running agent turn responses, sending the responses via the Slack message tool generally, but it can be whatever in Aquifer. And then we have a sandbox on a different machine. Yeah, the session can be, or the cell can be fairly ephemeral. So River then is just one profile on top of Aquifer. It's certainly the premier profile, and it's the one that we put by far the most effort into, but the idea now is for this to become a platform that we're able to run River on. Profiles are just data, a prompt, some skills, some Pi extensions, defaults, sandbox policy. Everything in this world is Nix, which is so operationally simple. It is wild how good GPT is at writing Nix code. That's a whole other presentation that I actually kind of gave at Planet Nix a couple months ago, if anybody's super curious to dig into that.
But something that I think we haven't mentioned and we may have missed in the slides is that we are building river and aquifer assuming that the future is very hard to predict. And also assuming that we are probably wrong about the majority of the decisions that we are making right now. So river and aquifer are by essence very, very flexible, and we are very, very willing to reconsider most of the decisions we have made so far. Aquifer, as Burke sort of suggested, was born out of like reading the Anthropic paper and being like, these guys have something here that we want to capture. That was a month ago. So a month ago, we decided, let's just do one more re-architect of this thing after the 2 previous re-architect that we did in the previous 2 months.
Just one more re-architecture,
Just one more re-architecture.
Just one more.
And we keep saying to people, hey guys, just so you know, this is not the last one. We are going to continue playing this game because we don't believe that this game is something that we will master at the first shot. We are still learning. We are learning how to learn, and we are learning how to learn how to learn, and so on and so forth. This is very recursive everywhere.
Should we jump? Let's jump back to the laptop for a second. I have another thing we can show you here. So let's go to this tab. So this is the little, like, I don't know, demo, whatever site we built for Aquifer. So this thing actually, the API for this is ridiculously simple. So we have this isn't like, it's kind of a gloss of the code, but you can see if you want a chat session, I'm going to say, oh, I had a great demo for this and I wish I could remember what I wanted to type. Okay, yeah, okay. So let's just say, tell me about your sandbox shape. So that'll run for a sec. This site's kind of janky because Claude wrote it all in like 5 minutes or whatever. But the age, oh, well, I don't know. Okay, whatever. Let me try again. Tell me about your sandbox shape. All right. So we're going to do some tool calls. These are really not beautifully styled on this. We can't emphasize enough how much I did not spend time making this chat interface look good.
One of the things that we are thinking, like future thinking here, is we are thinking that the machine in which the robot is operating can change configuration across the session because at some point the session realizes that it needs more resources. So that's the reason the box is like a parameter. We want to be able to say at some point in the middle of a session, you know what? This box is not the box we need right now. We need another one. And then poof, another appears.
I'm going to get River to fix this. This thing kind of sucks. The chat interface doesn't do markdown rendering, and it does this like janky refresh fade in thing every time I get a new packet from ACP. Can you just fix that and like redeploy it to Quick and open a draft PR for me?
This may take a while.
Probably I want a PR, not a VR, but you know. Okay. Yeah, anyway, so River will do that, and sometime probably shortly after this session is done, this will be much better. Yeah, so I don't know, that's pretty cool. So it tells me about the sandbox, having done some tool calls to investigate it. It's like, you know, Linux, NixOS based, we've got some resources, whatever. Yeah, anyway.
Again, it's sort of important we give these agents self-awareness about the system where they are living. We want the agents to know what they are.
And you can see too, if you look in the generated code pane, this is like pretty much the code that would actually work. You get this like cool little aquifer.chat thing, specify a profile for it to run in, and then from any, in this case, QuickSite, you can just respond to chat events. Insanely simple. And we have a couple other APIs for like generating a semi-persistent sandbox or just running a one-off job in one of these sandboxes. So this is going to be like very influential in the tools that we build over the next, I would say year, but who knows what happens a year from now. Let's say quarter. Yeah, back to the deck maybe.
Yep.
So Yeah, so like on that point of like things that we can enable with this, right? Like, it's fairly easy to imagine doing like an automatic PR review thing with this same infrastructure now. So having agents that just come up using the same Aquifer infrastructure and like automatically review PRs for us, maybe propose changes to us. Like maybe we could build something that has a one button click to accept or reject a diff, I don't know. CI we could build in the same thing, right? Because if you have suddenly an ephemeral sandbox where you can have your whole monorepo available, maybe that's a great way to build CI. Any number of things, right? Like this is something where I'm super curious to see what the rest of our organization comes up with, given this, this infrastructure. So this is a quote that Claude put in this thing, and I'm trying to figure out how to. So Toby said, the speed of an organization is determined by the speed of its lowest bandwidth communication channel. And so the thing that I think is like really significant about River as a technology is it just closes all these communication loops, right? Like you get suddenly a thread that pops up in some channel, and the distance between like tagging in the relevant people to hash out some kind of like initial exploration of a solution and then just tag River to complete it is narrowed to zero, and the activation energy has basically dissolved.
People don't need to prepare dev environments in their local machines. People don't need to think about how to set up services. People don't need to think about all sorts of considerations that sometimes you need to think when you open your machine to start working every day. I can open, I am doing this more and more. I take Uber from home to here. I open my computer. I know that I am not using that much bandwidth on my phone because I am just using a Slack, and I start talking with River on Slack. And by the time I arrive here, 15 minutes later, I have a PR open. Easy.
So this is all just starting, right? River shipped about 2 months ago, which is kind of incredible to think about. It feels like forever already. At the time, I put this slide deck together, which was like days ago. Aquifer was just rolling out. Now, I think we're like a day away from deleting the previous infrastructure because that's how fast things move now. And yeah, I don't know, like next time you see us in public, we'll probably be talking about a completely different set of things that we built on top of this.
We actually don't believe that River in its current form is going to exist for much longer. We're gonna evolve this thing. It's gonna become something that is probably less visible and more active at the same time. But at the end, this infrastructure is what is gonna persist and continue evolving and keeping us at the edge and like really pushing what these models can do.
But if you want to find out what's next, you can come ask River yourself.
There are talent people all around. Please talk to them, and if you want to play with us, just chat with us.
Questions? Yeah, is River something Shopify is selling? Definitely no. You can come work here to use it.
We are not selling it because it's our system for building code. But we want to talk about it because we believe that the learnings of these are applicable to many more companies, and it's important for everybody to gain. We feel that we are very privileged. We have been in a company that has embraced these models very, very, very early, and we believe that everybody can benefit from learning what we have learned so far. So we are very happy to chat about this thing and like explain how it works. How do we choose people?
So many options.
I don't know how to choose people. What?
Right near you. Yeah.
Okay, that's unfair. You shouldn't choose the people in the front.
Okay,
That's
well,
just
we'll pick
bias.
somebody definitely not in the front after.
Okay.
Next time I'll try to sit a little behind.
Dynamic.
But it is very impressive to see the speed and the scale with which the river is evolving. I had one question about one thing that we mentioned in the start, that the river also has knowledge and it keeps storing knowledge about the decisions and the conversations that keep happening previously in one place and tries to use that knowledge and apply that knowledge in the other place as well. So in this case, I wanted to ask, some teams work differently and take decisions differently based on different management styles or like different parameters. So how does River also weighs that in?
Okay. So my friend Angela here, Angela, raise your hand. Angela developed a system that is part of River that allows for team to configure their own river in their own channel. So when you go to your team channel, you have ways of parameterize river, even at the level of the system prompt, at the level of how code is written, et cetera, so that river accommodates a little bit to the style of the team.
I will say, in addition to that, which has been working well, a lot of the project of the monorepo 2 is minimizing the amount of team-specific workflow configuration too. So it certainly exists, but the long arc of this project is to try to homogenize things a little more.
In addition to that, we are, of course, encouraging people to use agents, MD files, skills, etc., that are localized in particular zones of the repository. So when River arrives to a zone, it dynamically loads the skills and the context from that zone and knows how to operate on that zone in a way that is compatible with the requirements of that zone. We also use it for like completely stupid shit. Like there is a Slack channel called Evil River in which River is evil. And there is one in which like it only talks about chocolate chips. Recipes for chocolate chips, I think. Cookies, right? Yeah.
Okay, let's do one more quick one. We went a little long on the presentation.
One from like the back. You, well, yeah, that person.
Yeah, so I have a question because I use Toby's repo QMD quite a lot for my own like personal knowledge management. I was curious, like, does that influence like any of the decisions in River? Because I see Toby basically committing to it on the weekend as well, so.
Yeah, we're like actually, we're like actively working on the memory system, like right now.
Right.
So that's definitely one of the things that's heavily influencing us. It's like in contention for direct use, but certainly it's influential in our strategy. Yeah. And yeah, I think we are done.
We're done. Thank you.
Thank you, Burke and Javier. There's a lot of good stuff in River. If you're thinking, hey, you don't need to be a software developer to use River, you're absolutely right. And people across disciplines are using River to create PRs. If you're thinking, hey, River created that video, it can do a whole bunch of things that are not really software related at all, you're also right. It's completely changed the way we do like basic data science and initial explorations. You'll find things where before you would have taken weeks to get an answer, you're getting directional information almost immediately within 10 minutes, which is quite amazing. The other kind of, I like to pull out, maybe you can tell, kind of a Shopify thing from this. Shopify's forever had this kind of approach where if you wish the system or the world would be a different way and you have the ability to do it. Before, we were only constrained by the amount of time that we had, and so we had to pick selectively what we would do. Now we just think that we're not actually constrained in that way, which is why we're rewriting River multiple times. We apply the same approach to many different systems, some of which we'll probably write about on the blog as we go through some of the major architectural changes that we're making, because we now have the capability to do so.